Welcome back to Reshaped by Loss. My name is Crystal, and I'm so grateful you're here. Today feels a little different because we're coming to the end of our journey through acceptance. Before we move into our next word, action, I want us to slow down, breathe, and reflect. Acceptance isn't something we learn once and check off a list. It's something we practice, sometimes every day. When we first began, I said something I want to repeat, and that's acceptance is not approval. It doesn't mean what happened was okay, that we understand why it happened, or that we no longer wish things had been different. It doesn't mean forgetting. Acceptance is acknowledging what is true. And sometimes that is one of the hardest things we'll ever do. There are things we would give anything to change. If we can go back, make the call again, have one more conversation, or rewrite the ending, we would. But we can't. Acceptance means acknowledging not only what happened, but that we cannot change it. I've had to learn this in my own grief. There are still moments I wish I could have back and questions I may never answer. But I can't acknowledge those things without allowing them to keep me from living. Acceptance doesn't mean the pain has disappeared. Sometimes it simply means the pain it no longer gets to make every decision for us. And this is where faith comes in. Acceptance without God can feel like resignation. It's like saying, this is just how it is. But acceptance with God sounds more like, God, this is what happened. I don't understand it. I don't like it. I wish it were different. But I trust you with what I cannot change. That's surrender. And surrender isn't weakness. Sometimes it is the strongest thing we can do. Romans 12:2 tells us, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformation begins as our thinking changes. So instead of asking, why did this happen to me? We may begin asking, God, what do you want to show me through this? Instead of asking, how do I get back to who I was? We may ask, who are you shaping me to become? A different question can open the door to a different kind of healing. I also want to return to something we discussed at the end of our Abide series. And that is, when there is no alignment, there is chaos. When our hearts and minds fight reality, when we try to control what we cannot change, chaos follows. Acceptance begins to bring alignment, not because everything suddenly becomes good, but because we stop fighting reality and begin saying, this is where I am. This is what happened. This is what I cannot change. And God, I trust you with what comes next. Maybe that's what peace looks like sometimes. Not that everything around us is peaceful, but that something within us has become peaceful. There will still be hard days. Some days acceptance may feel easier. Other days you may need to accept the same truth all over again. Give yourself grace, because healing is not a straight line. As we close this chapter, ask yourself, what am I ready to stop fighting? Not because you don't care, but because you're ready to stop allowing what you cannot change to control you. Okay? Again, allowing what you cannot change to control what you can still become. Maybe you're ready to stop fighting the reality of the loss, your emotions, joy, the possibility of a new beginning, or even God. Whatever it is, bring it to Him. Acceptance doesn't change what happened, but it can change how we carry it. And when God changes how we carry it, He begins to change us. And that brings us back to our season 2 reminder. And that's, as God grows in us, we will be changed. Now we're ready for the next step. We've learned to abide. We've learned to accept. And now we're going to talk about action. Healing eventually begins to show up in how we live, love, respond, serve, choose, and begin again. But we won't rush there. We'll carry everything we've learned with us. Action without abiding can become striving. Action without acceptance can become running. But action that comes from a heart that has learned to abide and accept can be purposeful, healing, and obedient. So take a breath and look how far you've come. Not only through these episodes, but through your own journey. Maybe you're not where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be either. And that is worth acknowledging. Take what you need from this season and give yourself permission to keep healing, and trust that God is not finished with you. Thank you for listening to Reshaped by Loss. If this podcast has spoken to you, please click the follow or subscribe button so others walking through grief, loss, and healing can find these conversations too. And if you've been walking with me through abide and acceptance, thank you for trusting me with your time and allowing these conversations to meet you where you are. As always, take what spoke to you and leave the rest. Be gentle with yourself, and remember, as God grows in us, we will be changed. I'll see you in our next chapter, Action. Shalom, shalom.